Welcome to the brand new FIsionaries podcast. Sponsored by Alchemy and hosted by me, this podcast shines a light on the financial institutions at the cutting edge of digital transformation, providing you with the tips and insights and tricks to elevate your digital game. You know, it's interesting. Most financial service executives say that innovation is now a prerequisite to respond quickly to the market challenges and opportunities to become future ready. With an innovation culture, financial institutions of all sizes are in a better position as consumer behavior is changing faster than ever before. Organizations with an advanced level of innovation and transformation culture are completely rethinking their business models, leveraging advanced technologies, understanding their customers and members more fully, investing in upskilling and reskilling, and achieving higher rates of growth. My guests are Raphael Reznek, Chief Technology Officer, and Samantha, Chief Marketing Officer at Mascoma Bank. We discuss how to support an enhanced customer journey with an innovation and transformation culture and how this makes banking better for customers and employees. Before we dig into what's happening at Mascoma Bank, can you both share a bit about your career backgrounds and how your various roles have prepared you for the journey you're on today? So I'm going to start with you, Samantha.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So I've been in banking, it's been 38 years, and 31 years of my career has been at Mascoma Bank. And I've been fortunate enough that I have worked in a variety of different lines of business throughout the bank. The majority of it in marketing, but what it's allowed me to do, especially in marketing, has given me a good opportunity to work with all of the different departments throughout the bank, and I've gotten to see firsthand how retail works, how commercial customers interact with our retail teams, or how operations impacts finance. Or I've gotten to be able to be involved in all of the departments. So I've gotten to see this kind of bird's eye view of how the bank works, and I think overall that has really helped me in my career, in my role today, and in the direction that we're going, because I have a good understanding of how we work as a company and what's important to us as we support our communities.
And Raphael, can you share a little bit about your role at Mascoma and also some of your background?
Sure, Jim. So I think it's important to note that I don't have a banking background. I have a technology background, and I spent a lot of my early career working with small to medium-sized businesses, and then later on in my career building technology teams for larger businesses and building platforms. And as the Chief Technology Officer at the bank, I'm at an intersection of people and technology, and I think that background is helping me to implement change with Samantha at the bank.
So it's interesting. In all the interviews we do for our podcast and in discussion we have with webinars and people that I meet directly, it is amazing, more so today than I ever remember in my career, where financial institutions, their ability to transform, their ability to innovate, and their ability to really stay on top of what's going on is so driven by top leadership and the ability to create the culture within an organization that makes it so all employees feel like they're part of the organization, but also, most importantly, part of the solutions. So Samantha, in a recent LinkedIn post, Mascoma Bank was featured some of your employees speaking about feeling empowered to make decisions. Now, this is one of those elementary things everybody says, yes, we have to do it, but it's really unusual when it's actually done. So taking that as the starting point, the foundation, what makes Mascoma Bank a little bit more unique, and how does your top leadership make employees feel like they're empowered?
You know, I do think we're really unique, and it's a really special place here at the bank, and I think there's a couple of things that drive that. One is the fact that we are a mutual bank, our corporate structure We have been for over 123 years. And I think that actually allows us to focus on our customers and our communities over the long term. We don't have the pressure of stockholders. That is a key factor, I think, in how we run our business. It has also led us to become, we're a certified B Corporation. And certified B Corporations are focused on basically the triple bottom line. It's not just about profits for us. It's about people, planet, and profit. And we truly want to be not best in the world, but best for the world. And people will rally around a purpose. And our purpose is really about how can we best serve our customers and our communities over the long term. So because of that purpose, I think it allows us and our folks to feel very much empowered to make an impact on the world around us, because we're not just focused on the bottom line. We truly want to make a difference. So that, I think, really drives the overall culture of the bank. But I think it's also easy to put on a poster, we want to be best for the world, or hey, you're empowered to give input. And it's easy to do that. And do we have those posters up? Yeah, we do. But it's way beyond that. We don't just talk about it. We actually live it. And one of our core values, one of our main values of the company is mutual respect and trust. And we pull in that value in presentations we make, in discussions we're having with folks, in meetings that we're having. It's part of our assessments on our job reviews. How are you living up to that value of mutual respect and trust? And that value helps to enable our folks to really feel like their voice matters. And from the senior leadership team on down, we are focused on diversity of thought. We want people to share their ideas and thoughts. We can't get better if we're looking at everything as a traditional banker. Raphael mentioned before that he doesn't have a banking background. We have a lot of folks on the team that don't have a banking background, and I think that helps to make us unique as well, because it's not just a bunch of traditional bankers sitting around a table talking about regulations and rules, because as a banker, that's what we like to do. Instead, we're having much more deeper, broader conversations because we have a diversity of thought, and we want folks, it doesn't matter if you've been here a month at the bank or if you've been here 30 years. We need your ideas, we need your input, we need your thoughts. So we are always encouraging people to talk about, bring your perspective to the forefront.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So this is very interestingly timed in that I have not talked to a mutual bank in decades. I mean, truly decades, until last Friday. I did an event where I was a speaker in front of a modest-sized mutual that was a combination of many organizations, all mutual organizations. And it was interesting how, again, as you mentioned, the whole mindset. I liken it to a credit union. I worked at part of my career in the savings and loan industry. It was very similar to that as well. But it's interesting because when you can make it so the employees realize that their voice matters and we're doing it for the members or the people who are depositors and our borrowing customers, it's really interesting. So, Samantha, stick on you for a second. Could you give me an example of where you walk the walk as opposed to simply talk the talk?
Yep, I think a good example of us walking the walk, we have a variety of employee-led teams that are focused on impact and how the bank can make a difference in our communities. We have a team that is focused on impact on our communities. We have a team that's focused on impact on our customers, one that's focused on impact on the environment, and one that's focused on impact on employees. And those are employee-run teams. There's no senior member of the team. Those are a group of employees that meet on a regular basis to really focus on how can we make a difference on the environment or our customers or our employees. They come up with ideas, they make proposals, they want to make a difference, and they come forth with proposals for new product ideas, for areas in the community that we can be donating to and supporting in a different way, things that we should be doing at the bank that looks at our carbon output or how can we have zero waste. So we want employees to feel empowered, so we build teams throughout the bank to come up with ideas and make decisions for us.
Raphael, as Chief Technology Officer, your role is to make sure the technology can support the vision and culture of Mascoma. Could you share how you're doing this, and if part of the strategy is to some way democratize the benefits of the technology across the organization where individual employees and teams benefit from it?
Yeah, so that's a tough one in community banking because of the legacy providers that we have to deal with. Obviously they've made a good product for decades, and it's helped us support our customers, but we've reached a point where the customers are deciding what products they want and where and when they want them. And our ability to support our culture and our values and to meet those customers with the products they want, where they want them, is right now controlled by those providers. We are a conduit for those products, not making the decisions about what the products are. So from a technology standpoint, what we've done is we've identified, we basically will categorize systems as either point solutions, something that offers a fixed thing or fixed product, perhaps with parameters, versus platforms. And platforms are the direction we go in, platforms that give us the ability to change the product or change the workflow, to design our own product. So that led us to the products we're building our new tech stack on, which gives us control of our destiny, if you will. We can design our products from scratch. The vendors do not determine what the products are. So then we can deliver to our customers products, and we can listen to our customers, and if the product is not right or not in the right place, we can modify it quickly.
It's interesting because in the same discussion I had last week with another financial institution that, again, was modest-sized, they also mentioned the challenges of working with your core system providers that are very big. You pretty much have to take what they give you. Have you found it, Raphael, a little bit better now? I mean, certainly over the last 3 to 4 years, where some of these alternative providers, these third-party providers, such as Alchemy, provide you the opportunity to work with things outside of your core providers to be able to implement it speed and scale?
Yes, you're seeing, I think, a big sea change with the alternative providers. Alchemy is a great example. Alchemy's their culture and values align with ours. That's one of the decision points for us, is making sure that organizations have similar values. But they operate in an iterative fashion using feedback, which is what we attempt to do as well, and we'll do more of as we implement these platforms. And that allows us to modify what we're offering. And it allows Alchemy, for example, to quickly add functionality that the customers are asking for.
That's a key point, because we talk about it a lot on the podcast we do and in other integrations that we have with providers such as Alchemy, where we realize that, somebody's looking for, let's say, and I use in my ongoing example, the digital new account opening, that, if you use a core provider, a lot of times you're going to be into the combination of your legacy back office mentality and the core providers, you end up with a solution that may take 15 minutes. If you double down on, I need something quicker so I don't have the 60% attrition rate or account opening abandonment rate, then you use these alternative providers to say, how can I plug and play within my traditional core provider platform? So it's interesting because I think it gives small organizations the ability to really implement against their culture. Because in the past, the culture would be great, but you get these roadblocks. And now you can work around those roadblocks. It takes the culture and the leadership to say, we are going to get to that point. But that's a major, major difficulty in the past. So to both of you, what challenges have you had in the past in trying to introduce and implement against your culture? In other words, you say good things, you implement good things, your team is trying to do good things. But what are some of the challenges you've had over maybe the last just 2 years that make it sometimes a little bit more difficult than what you thought it might be? I'll start with you, Raphael.
We focus on technology, or definitely people in my role would say they're focused on technology, but it really doesn't start with technology. It starts with people. People are at the core of everything. And when we embarked on this journey, we didn't start with technology. We started with people and culture and process, and attempting to break fixed mindsets, to move people from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, so we could start iterating. So instead of building monolithic systems and saying, okay, it's perfect, it's ready to go, after we've spent 18 months working on it and then finding out that it's what they asked for but not what they want, we now iterate without knowing 100% where we will actually end up, because of the feedback that occurs from our team members and our customers in the process along the way. So that's what we started with first, was it was the culture and the ability to iterate, a continuous improvement mindset, for example, agile, etc. So we focused on our culture first, and I would say that was and still is our biggest obstacle.
It's interesting because you said it very well, that number one, it's the best opportunity, because the ability to start with the culture makes it so you're not going to go too far off of where you need to do, as opposed to trying to go against a product set. Also, to your point, and I want to make this clear to everybody who's listening, is that the importance of iteration in innovation is so important, because, as you mentioned, Raphael, is if you're not totally sure, if you don't want to predefine your destination, you'll get there within the confines of your culture. More importantly, these ongoing small changes are going to make it so that you're continually improving the product set without saying, in 18 months, we're going to be implementing X. And it tends to be overwhelming. Plus, what you did maybe 16 months ago is already outdated. So, Samantha, from your perspective in the marketing area, what challenges have you seen in implementing against the culture? Or I'll even go the other side and say, what opportunities have come out of this from the marketing perspective?
I'm going to answer on both sides, Jim. Raphael said something that's key here, and this is the fact that this is ongoing. The challenges that we had 5 years ago are the same challenges we have today. Change is hard. It's super hard for folks, and this continuous improvement mindset shift for us and iterating on products and services and systems and processes, it's change. And we're still working with folks to get them to understand how the change works and how it impacts them. I think we've done a really good job at sharing what the vision is for the company, for the bank. This is where we want to go, and we've done a really good job of explaining the why behind it, and that's what people are connected to. The how is the hard part now. Setting expectations of how things are going to be rolled out, how this is going to impact people's jobs, how people's jobs may change completely over the next couple of years. They want to know exactly what that means today. We don't know yet. So working through that has been really challenging and continues to be. So communication and trust are huge in this process. As far as what opportunities it's opening up, I think Raphael hit upon this a little bit too. The legacy systems that we have in place, Mascoma, like most banks, we have a really hard time at getting at data and truly understanding our customer and their behavior all in one place. We have all of these disparate systems that are coming in with all of this variety of data. We can't pull it together. We can't truly analyze what our customers are doing at the bank, what their needs are. This is going to allow us to really understand our customers at a very granular level so we can better support them with their financial wellness. Because right now we're just seeing bits and pieces of the customer relationship, and to truly help them, we need to see the whole thing.
That's such a good point that, again, not, and again, the core providers have a lot of benefits. They help in many ways. However, in a time when you have to have speed and scalability, when you have to have iterative innovation, it sometimes can be difficult. So using alternative providers to help plug and play, to be able to take data and say, my data doesn't have to be perfect for my alternative provider to make it actually do something. Samantha, I'm going to stick with you for a second and say, when you talked about how important it is for the employees and how important it is basically to make sure that when you're telling them what's going to happen, that you're actually playing, walking the walk, as I said earlier, has the ability to have this type of culture, this change management culture, this ability to say, we're not just going to be a traditional bank. Does that help in both retention and recruitment? And you mentioned also the ability for that culture to help build trust. I mean, when you have that core, it really helps say, we're not going to go outside of what we said our culture is going to be. Does that help in the retention and recruitment of employees?
Absolutely helps. I've said it before, people will rally around a purpose. And if they believe in what we're doing and totally understand the why behind it, it makes this an attractive place to work. And people get excited. And it also helps with this change management, because if people believe in what you're doing, they'll hang on and they'll be resilient and work through the change. So that's the positive. I will also share with you, I think, because of our culture and who we are and our focus on being best for the world, not best in the world, it has allowed us to attract talent that outside of banking that I'm not sure we would have been able to attract if we didn't have the culture that we have. So Raphael and his team, we have programmers and developers. We have some amazing technologists that have come on board that I don't think might have been interested in coming to work for a small community bank in northern New England. But we're attracting them because of what we're doing, and we truly believe in what we're doing.
I've heard that from so many organizations that have a really good, very top leadership mentality and a good culture, is that we outslug our weight sometimes in the ability to keep to get employees, but also in keeping them. Because again, let's say you're wanting to close a branch or do something different in the branch. Every employee feels like they're going to be displaced by digital. If the culture's in place, people realize there's a place for me in humanizing that digital implementation. Now, what that culture usually says is, we're going to give you that opportunity. Now, if you don't want to play that way, then we'll separate. And that'll be okay for both parties, because we are going to go in this direction. But what the culture does, it makes it so it says, we want to keep you. We want you to be part of this new organization and the direction we're going. So, Raphael, what do you see as the role of data in the building and the supporting of an innovation and transformation culture at Mascoma?
So data can inform us so that we can make decisions that are in the best interest of our customers and our culture, our values, etc. So we can look at the behavior of a customer. We can derive attempts at fraud. We can derive that a customer needs assistance based on the transactions that they're doing, so that this will help us serve our customers. One, to prevent fraud, for example, or another example would be a customer that is taking on temporary loans at a high interest rate because they have a gap in cash flow. And that's something that we're particularly interested in, the financial wellness of our customers. So we want to be able to help them, and data can help us see that.
So you do believe in the democratization of data eventually, where your employees are going to have basically the insights they need to serve their customers and their communities better, as opposed to having it just within your department, let's say.
Yes. So we, as one of our goals for our new platform, we are looking to implement something called first contact resolution. And we're going to set a threshold where we want 80, 90%. We haven't defined what that percentage is yet, but first contact at the bank and you will get resolution to your issue instead of being handed off to 1, 2, or 3 other people to get resolution. So this would involve digital channels, self-service, and human contact. And to do that, we have to empower our team members to be able to make decisions at that point of contact. And to do that, they have to have data and capability. And that's definitely democratization of the data.
That's a great, what you just said is to be able to say that we want our employees to have the tools to make the decisions on their own. And it's the thing that usually was said about Nordstrom and some of the Four Seasons hotel chains, some of the other organizations, that giving them the power to make decisions not only helped with retention and recruitment of employees, but made their job worthwhile, and it showed to the customer very quickly, because you could tell, oh, geez, this person's not going to just use the excuse, I'm going to pass it on to somebody else. That's key. From a data and insight perspective, Samantha, how does it help you in the future in the development of products, services, and even communication in Mascoma?
I think one thing that data is going to help us do, and I think as an industry, I think the banking industry needs to get better at this. I think this will, access to better data will allow us to push information out to customers in the moment that it matters. So as an industry, banks typically, if a customer comes in and shares they have a problem, we try to solve the problem for them. But instead, a lot of times, customers aren't thinking about their finances all the time. They aren't thinking about the impact of when I swipe my debit card right now, what the impact is going to be on my account, or if I'm going to overdraw. They're not. So how do we, as an industry, start pushing out information to the consumer when it matters most? I mean, Netflix does this, Amazon does this, Uber does it. Why doesn't the financial industry do it? We can help our customers with products and services and delivery mechanisms in the moment it matters most, if we have the data to be able to analyze what their behavior is, what's going on, and we can push out information to them. It's just, hey, Jim, happen to notice this month you have extra money in your account at this point in the month. We have a great CD special right now. Do you want to click here and put the money in there? How do we help you with your financial wellness in the moment? And I think the data will allow us to do that. And we've got to have that switch in the industry, because I think it really matters. I think it makes a difference to our customers and our community if we can get them the right information at the right time. And right now we do a terrible job of that.
It's interesting. Again, I'm going to keep on getting back to the culture aspect of this. If the culture's intact, if the culture is continually reinforced, even if you're not perfect, you know the direction to go. Raphael brought this up earlier. Samantha, you just did it now, whereby the culture is the guiding force, just the North Star. And what's interesting about a mutual organization that works to your benefit when you're looking at culture is it touches all elements of the organization. It touches leadership, it touches employees, and it touches community, including both the customers and the broader set of communities. So I'm going to ask you both this. Either one of you can grab it. But can you share some of the ways of what you're doing for the communities and why it's important for Mascoma to actually be engaged in a very big way?
We are constantly looking at the impact that we make on the world around us, and how can we positively impact our communities and our customers. And we talk a lot about the fact of we're a bank, and what are the areas that we can really make a difference as a bank? And there's a couple of areas that really stick out to me. It's on how do we help support keeping the local economy thriving through commercial lending and support to our businesses, and to ensure that that economic vitality is there. As a bank, we should be looking at the housing industry and how we can help support the housing industry. In our area, there's such a need for low and moderate workforce housing. And so how can we get involved and help? The other area that we can really make a difference as a bank is financial wellness. How do we help people make the most of their finances, of the money that they have coming in, and manage their financial life in a better way for them, so they can achieve their goals and manage their finances and look forward to their future? in a constructive way. And I think those areas are what we're trying to focus on as a bank. This is where we can make the most impact on the world around us, and is in those areas. And, this digital evolution that we're going on, this transformation that we're trying to go through, is really going to help us to take what we're doing now and really ramp it up to make a big difference in our communities.
It's interesting, Raphael. Earlier you said that what you're trying to do is make it so the data, the analytics, the technology falls, it's almost subservient to the people and culture part. When you look at your senior leadership, the management team of which I'm making an assumption that both of you are a part of, but when you look at the very top of the organization, how does the top of the organization show you that they're committed to not only embracing the change that's going on, which is extraordinary, and especially for smaller organizations, but how do they empower you to do what you need to do?
That's a great question, Jim, because I came in to a senior leadership team that was mostly traditional bankers with decades of experience and fantastic experience. And I think I came in a little, a bit of a Tasmanian devil. I know that because they told me. But what was most interesting to me about this team is that they listened to me when I had something to say. They listened, and they gave me feedback, like, okay, that's an interesting idea, or we hadn't looked at it that way before, and they empowered me and made me feel welcome on the team, supported, and they gave me trust. So we have this incredible trust on our team between the members of the leadership team, actually the whole organization, but the leadership team, there's an incredible amount of trust, and we know that we will the things that we're trying to do are in support of our culture and values. And so they don't, they challenge me, obviously. They courageously challenge my ideas, and they'll let me know when that's probably not a good idea. But otherwise, as far as implementing something like alchemy, they're very supportive. It's a huge, it's a change for us. It's a really big change, changing our core provider. Big change. Very supportive, even though we've gone outside the traditional providers. So I would say that that trust has been a really is really important, and that's the difference.
This is interesting because as part of this overall podcast engagement is to make sure that people that listen to it are going to understand the difference making. What are the little things that seem little but are huge? And in a lot of the communications I've had with financial institutions, what Raphael said is key. If the very top of the organization isn't playing by the rules, they can't dictate culture. On the other hand, if they very much live the life they want to lead for the organization, the rest of the organization would feel like they're letting the organization and leadership down if they don't do the same. In talking to both you today, it is very clear that not only are you comfortable with the way the culture is, but you're part of that culture. You send it down to the people that report to you, but the people above you have given it to you as well in action items. As trust is so paramount. But we find this, I find this, at smaller organizations, and it's sometimes at the bigger organizations. But it is not a scalable challenge. You can do this at the biggest organization. You can do this at the smaller organization. But unless it stops at the very top, unless the very top embraces how the industry is changing, which, by the way, is uncomfortable. in every way, shape, and form. As uncomfortable as it is to change core system providers, if we do this and we live it and we continually reinforce it, then our employees make the job easier. So both of you again, what are your aspirations? Not your personal aspiration, but what do you think are the aspirations that you have for Mascoma in the next 1 to 3 years? And I hate to go any further than that because we know we're shooting, trying to do pin the tail on the donkey in a dark room. So, what would you like to see take place? I'll start with you, Raphael.
From an aspirational standpoint, I would love to be able to offer an experience on par with Apple from even a financial standpoint, where our customers get information on a timely basis and don't have to take explicit action to interact with us and to make decisions and implement those decisions.
Boy, I love that. How about you, Samantha?
I would like to see Mascoma Bank not only supporting our customers in a way that we've never been able to before, but paving the way for other community banks to change how they're going about doing their business today. Because I do think that we can help support other community banks who are sitting there today thinking we need to do something different, but we don't even know where to start. And I think we can do a lot of that work for them. We can pave the way so that they can take a step back and go, all right, we can do something different. We can follow in Mascoma Bank's footsteps and take some of the steps that they've taken to ensure that we are going to be here and be relevant 5 years or 10 years from now.
I smiled when you started saying that because the financial institution I was with last week, the other mutual I was mentioning, they have the same aspirations. And that is interesting because all of a sudden, it's very clear to me that part of the mutual formation of a financial institution is to serve all entities around them, including what could be considered competitors. Because as the tide rises, overall, everybody benefits. To finish up this podcast, this discussion, what one recommendation would you give financial institutions?
You know what? My recommendation would be to actually rip the Band-Aid off. Don't take tiny little steps. Really stretch and realize where you need to go and start to dive in and start to make change right away. Because I think if we continue to have banks sit there and wring their hands and keep thinking we need to make change and just are taking tiny little steps, it's going to be too late for them at some point. I would rip the Band-Aid off and just start making change.
Great recommendation. Raphael?
I would definitely agree with Samantha on ripping the bandage off, but I would also add bringing subject matter expertise in-house if possible, attempting to bring in agents of change, those with a completely different point of view.
Great recommendations. I love the idea of ripping the Band-Aid off because I use the analogy as you're both aware quite often around going to the doctor and keep on getting the recommendations on how you have to eat better and work out more, and it doesn't happen. We don't make that big change. We talk about it. We talk about how we're going to do it, but we don't do it. It's about doing it. It's the Nike saying, just do it. So thank you both for being on the Visionary podcast. It's really great to have you on the show and for you to share with us how an organization such as Mascoma can really make a change both internally and externally to benefit the community. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Visionaries podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into all the tips and tricks you can use to elevate your digital game. If you enjoyed this episode and like to support this podcast, please share it with others, post it on social media, or leave a thumbs up and comment. I'm your host, Jim Maroos. Until next time, remember, instead of waiting for the market to define your future, embracing a challenger mindset and creating a culture that embraces change is the way to go. Thanks again, and we'll chat with you next time on the Visionaries podcast.